Welcome to the show on a Monday, another beginning of a long work week. Real quick dates, you can get them at nickdip.com. I want to mention this before we get to all the grim news. I hate shows like this on a Monday. I like it to be a funny show, but all this shit always happens on the weekends, and we'll do the best we can here. Dana Loesch at the bottom of the hour, former NRA spokesman, paid spokesman, and excited to have her on because she knows more about this than anybody. NickDip.com, tour information, Saturday, August 10th. That's this weekend, Newtown Theater, Newtown, Pennsylvania. Friday and Saturday, August 16th and 17th, Helium Comedy Club in Philly. Here's a new date. Mark it down. Thursday, September 26th, Wise Guys Comedy Club, Salt Lake City, Utah. Can't wait. Never been there. Friday and Saturday, September 27th through 28th. What happened to the 26th?
Days changed.
Okay, all right, Tommy. I'll do Thursday if you want me to. Las Vegas. The Comedy Works in Las Vegas. Thursday, October 10th, Levity Live, Nyack, New York. No, I'm doing a gig in Utah. That's why. Duh. Jesus Christ. Friday, November 15th, Cortland Repertory Theater, Cortland, New York. Saturday, November 16th, the Comedy Works, Saratoga Springs, New York. New Year's Eve back at the beautiful Tarrytown Music Hall, Tarrytown, New York. And then in 2020, Friday, January 24th, the Ridgefield Playhouse, Ridgefield, Connecticut. Saturday, February 15th, the Kelsey Theater, Lake Park, Florida. Again, go to nickdip.com for all your ticket information. And real quick, before I get to the horrible tragedies of the weekend, I brag about the Boston Red Sox when they beat up on the Yankees. So because I'm a fair guy, the Red Sox are finished. Well, we could still pull a wild card thing, but 8 losses in a row at the most important time of the season. Yankees beat them silly 4 straight, first time in 10 years. And I blame the owners of the Red Sox letting Kimbrel go and not replacing Joe Kelly. And here's what you got, John Henry, you dummy. Now I have to take shit from my old agent, Tony Burton, Red Sox fan, who I love, by the way, one of my favorite people on the planet. But an embarrassing weekend for him, and maybe they'll wake the hell up. Anyhow, that's, I think, everything. What, Rich? You get your mouth open like you're blowing somebody. What?
No, I was just happy about the Yankees winning.
Oh, shut the fuck up, will you? Nobody wants to hear from you. That's Rich Wood, my fixer. Let's get to the horrible shootings over the weekend. I used to say this. I said this, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I put on the news every morning for this reason, going, it's probably going to happen again. And you're right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. So you know about the shooting in El Paso at the Walmart, and then the shooting at Ned Pepper's in Dayton, Ohio, where my niece Jenna went to school and has been in a bar many times. You know, it's just sickening. But we'll get into the whole gun thing with Dana Loesch because that's what she does, and that's at the bottom of the hour. Here's some. I thought this was some of the most compelling footage. Video, the Walmart shooting, a guy actually hiding under a table. I've had this dream. I told you I've had state troopers point guns at me because they thought my buddy's car was stolen. They made us get out of the car and 3 guys on a tripod, and it scarred me mentally for a couple months. I had dreams. I can't imagine. I had nightmares about that. That lasted about 10 seconds. I can't imagine this, but take a look at this footage. Are you shitting me? That's what they tell you to do. They tell you not to run, but, seek shelter. Because you could run into the guy if you don't know where he is or whatever. So, but I can't imagine the terror that the guy was feeling. And the shots went on forever. And it's just creepy. And that, of course, and by the way, I tweeted a tweet that caught all kinds of shit. And this was before, I just looked up, now we get jets flying over us. That's why I love living here. Military jets, in case anybody's getting pissed at me what I say today, which they're going to. What was I just talking about? I tweeted about the Walmart thing, and it was right at the beginning. There were no facts. Nobody knew fatalities. I was cooking in the kitchen, and I saw active shooter in Walmart. So I tweeted a tweet about active shooter at Walmart. That'll be the first person shopping there who could ever be considered active, which includes me, by the way. I've spent more time at Walmart here in Georgia, where they are heavy. But I caught some shit, even from my followers who just don't get comedy. Well, it was a great joke, bad timing. Well, no, if I make the joke 6 months from now and everybody laughs at it, I had to go back on these people. That's the only time something like that's funny, and it had nothing to do with the shooting. And I know this is going to be hard for you guys to understand that aren't comics, but I was commenting on Walmart shoppers, including myself, who's put on a few pounds. That's what that was about, and about fat Walmart shoppers. And, of course, people, you sanctimonious PC assholes who have ingested the PC culture start coming at me. Well, somebody say, well, good joke, but bad timing. Well, if I tell the joke 6 months from now, everybody's going to laugh at it. Are those people less dead then? And, by the way, it wasn't about that at all. Okay? So unfortunately, that's what made it funny. That's when it's, otherwise it's just a fucking safe joke. And it wasn't even about that day. It was about commenting on Walmart shoppers. And secondly, my dad has Alzheimer's. He's dying of Alzheimer's. Should we stop those jokes too? You people I know you're comedy fans, but you don't know about the first fucking thing about what comics do and what makes us tick. Okay, so I left it up there. Nobody had a problem with it. Twitter didn't have a problem with it. Just the sanctimonious assholes who love to virtue signal on fucking Twitter. It is such a cesspool of assholes. That's what I've learned about this country most after an incident like this. The Puritans actually believed what they believed. You jerk-offs who pretend to be Puritan and you're worse than Puritans, you know why? Because you do it to virtue signal to other people. Look, I'm holier than thou. At least the Puritans actually believed in this shit. So, fucking take a comedy lesson. Sorry. I'm not backing down on that one. Anyhow, and this isn't about me anyways, but I'm just saying it's so typical of after an incident like this. But this jerk-off, Patrick Crucius, used an AK-47. Look, he looks like a young Alan Dershowitz is what he looks like. Is that not Alan Dershowitz in high school? It really is. Anyhow, he used an AK-47, which is an assault rifle, from what I understand. Again, Dana might straighten me out on this. An AR-15 is not an assault rifle. And then in multiple articles I'm reading, they go like, they say it's an AR-15 style gun. Well, that's a semi-automatic. An AR-47 is an automatic, is a machine gun. Kalashnikov. So you're reading the articles, and they don't even know how to define what it is. Okay, but that doesn't justify any of this shit. Real quickly before I get Joe Biden proving again that he's not fit to be a president. You guys say that about Trump, which makes me belly laugh. Biden offers sympathy for the tragic events in Houston today and also in Michigan. Oh, what a fucking... Mistakenly referred to the shooters as tragic events in Houston today and also Michigan, but later corrected himself, according to a poll report. Sunday was not the first time Biden mixed up names on the 2020 campaign trail. In May, Biden confused former British Prime Minister Thatcher, who left in 1990, with Prime Minister Theresa May. So he's a sexist, too. He can't tell one broad from another. You know what? The president's words have meaning, he says, no matter who or she is. They are the face of America, Biden said at the Sunday fundraiser. He added that he does not hold President Trump personally responsible for the shooting, but noted that he has influence on the country. Thank you, Joe, for clearing that up. Biden reportedly also mentioned Trump referring to people crossing the southern borders as animals. That was back in April. Viral tweet claiming that he called all asylum seekers animals. That was false. He was referring to MS gang members who chop people up with machetes. Big dummy. During a Democratic primary debate last week, Biden misstated his frequent line about 8 years of Trump, among other flubs. He said, "We can't afford 8 more years of Trump. We'll change America in a fundamental way." Trump, at his best, is going to get 4. This guy's fucking retarded or too old. Why don't you just admit it? And that's your front runner. He's a real dope, I'll tell you.
Well, things, I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb, I'm smart.
Just an asshole. That was a little digression. El Paso Walmart shooting. Patrick Cruz is charged with capital murder. He turned 21 a week before the Walmart killed 20, injured 26. Alias of a surname Brown, 21-year-old from Alpatrican. That's weird. Texas, a 10-hour drive from El Paso, being held without bail. We are going to aggressively prosecute it both as capital murder, but also a hate crime. Sheriff Richard Wiles, who oversees the jail, called it a racist. I love how when this shit goes down, they don't hesitate to say white male. But if this was the other way around, a terrorist attack, somebody of Middle Eastern descent, the president, everybody else would be out there going, "No, hold your judgment, hold your judgment." I love how cavalier they are when it comes to a white fucking suspect. The double standard, you know it all. But the sheriff, Richard Wiles, says, "This Anglo man came here to kill Hispanics," he wrote on Facebook. "I'm outraged. You should be too. This entire nation should be outraged. In this day and age, with all serious issues we face, we are still confronted with people who will kill another for sole reason other than color of skin." If you read his manifesto, it has nothing to do with the color of skin. And he also said they're going to blame this on Trump. He also admitted that he had these views way before Trump came on the scene. But again, this is all doesn't fit the narrative of the mainstream media, who went on their typical fucking, typical. They turned into a political thing, a gun control thing, 2 seconds after it happened. Anyways, he graduated from Plano Senior High School in 2017 before enrolling in Collin College. And then not even, 14 hours later, Dayton, Ohio, Connor Betts, 24, shot dead, 9, including his own sister. Look at him. Here's a picture of him eating his own turd. I love how they put him in a fucking, let's find the whitest guy, let's get him with his Wall Street suspenders and shit. But just a psycho. And he has a history of it. And I'll read it to back up for you people who are so hell-bent on gun control. 6 of the 9 victims were African Americans. The police have said they don't think it was targeted discrimination because of the short timeline of the massacre. But if Obama was still in office and Eric Holder, that would be a whole different tune. But they're not ruling it out. Like I said, as opposed to when it's a terrorist attack from a Middle Eastern guy, we have to bite our tongues. Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley told reporters the gunman used a high-powered rifle, .223 caliber high-capacity magazines and extra magazines. And then there's a list of all the, it's sickening. And somebody writes, why does Dayton have to be the 250th mass shooting this year? In 2019, there's 250 mass shootings. And I know when you heard that, like me, said, what? How was that possible? How come I've only heard about 4 or 5 of them or 3 of them? I'll tell you why that is. You know what the definition of a mass shooting is? More than 4 innocent people shot, for no reason. And you're going, well, yeah, where are the rest of the one? Where's the rest of them? That will be in Chicago on the weekends. We don't count those when drug deals go bad if 4 people are shot. Or we do count them, but we don't talk about them on CNN and MSNBC. And those are done by handguns, most of them. But these are all the dirty secrets that the left want to, keep secret. Background on Chet's found that he did not have a violent background, a criminal background. The probe had not uncovered any concealed weapon permits for him. Betts' former high school principal, Chris Baker, told the Dayton News how the Ohio shooter was suspended from school for writing a hit list on a bathroom wall, sparking a lockdown.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson.
There was many flags here, too, apparently. He also had a list of girls he wanted to sexually assault. So once again, what's my point? Proving he's a psychotic. It's not the fucking instrument in his hand. He's crazy. Anybody who does a mass shooting is crazy. You could argue that the Chicago shootings and Ferguson and all the inner city shootings, the people are doing it to survive. But these people are fucking, the drug dealers, they think they're justified. But anybody who does what happened this weekend is psychotic. But let's not bring that into the picture. Records from Kettering Municipal Court reveal that he had received 2 speeding tickets, in 2013 and 2014. What a fucking rebel. Police have not confirmed the motive. How about he's batshit crazy? More on Betts. There's some great footage of Betts. Here's the video of the cops when he chased people out of the bar. He's going into another bar to do more damage. And the cops showed up like in 30 seconds. God bless them. The Black Lives Matter who hate the cops, and again, you won't hear about any of this. But here's some really compelling footage of the cops shooting this asshole dead.
Bye-bye, dickhead.
Fucking, and he would have done a ton more damage, okay? 6 officers were able to stop Betts 30 seconds after the massacre started, which is an unbelievable job by them. But again, former classmates told the Associated Press that Betts was suspended during his junior year at suburban Bellbrook High School after a hit list was found scrawled in a school bathroom. That followed an early suspension after Betts came to school with a list of female students that he wanted to sexually assault.
Danger, Will Robinson.
I mean,
Danger. No, Will Robinson.
Another case of somebody dropping the ball, in my opinion. Not to point fingers, but if you're going to point fingers at Trump, I'm going to point fingers at you. There was a kill list and a rape list. My name was on the rape list, said a female classmate, a former cheerleader. The woman said she didn't really know Betts and was surprised when a police officer called her cell phone during her freshman year to tell her that her name was included on a list of potential targets. Anyways, the officer said he wouldn't be at school for a while, she said. But after some time passed, he was back, walking the halls. They didn't give us any warning that he was returning to school. Jesus Christ. The discovery of the hit list early in 2012 sparked police investigation. Roughly one-third of Bellbrook students skipped school out of fear because they're smarter than the people supposed to be protecting them. Anyways, there was an incident in high school with a shooter that should have prevented him from ever getting his hands on a weapon. This was a tragedy that was 100% avoidable. He wrote on Twitter a post. This was Drew Gainey. So Gainey did not respond to messages from AP seeking further comment, but the name on his account matches that of a former Bellbrook student who was on the track team with Betts. Again, proving that the guy's psychotic, has been forever. Sent up flags, missed. All right, this has gone on enough where, you know, that should jump out at law enforcement. And then, of course, the Dems, the candidates, the most cynical people on the planet, Democrat. I've said that forever because it's all about power. Politics is a game to them. They don't give a shit. They jumped on this, tried to turn this into a political thing. First, the fucking genius skateboard rider, Beto O'Rourke, had this to say.
That the American people understand what is being done in their name by the person who holds the highest position of public trust in this land. He does not even pretend to respect our differences or to understand that.
Pause. And you don't pretend that you're turning this into a political football. That's how stupid you are. Go back to do what you were doing, smoking pot and going to concerts. What a fucking jerk off. Go ahead.
We are all created equal. He is saying that some people are inherently defective or dangerous, reminiscent of something that you might hear in the Third Reich, not something that you
a
expect.
Nazi reference. You're breaking some new ground, you dick.
I'm a fucking idiot.
Is that
in
it?
the United States of America, based on their religion, based on their sexual orientation, based on their immigration status, based on the countries that they come from, calling those in Africa shithole nations, and saying that he'd like to have more immigration from Nordic countries, the whitest place on planet Earth today. So again, let's be very clear about what is causing this and who the president is. He is an open, avowed racist and is encouraging more racism in this country.
End it. I can't listen to this fucking idiot. Let's be clear about who you are. A cynical, political left-wing hack. And you're part of the Democrat Party, which is complicit with CNN, MSNBC, NBC, for the last 40 years, cherry-picking racial stories. You guys have been throwing gas on the fire. And you're just a dolt. Let's play the next asshole, Cory Booker, who also had the same line. Surprise, surprise.
We have a president of the United States who is particularly responsible. I, in my faith, have this idea that you reap what you sow, and he is sowing seeds of hatred in our country, and this harvest of hate violence that we're seeing right now lies at his feet. When you have the president from the highest moral office in our land talking about invasions and infestations and shithole countries, the kind of things that come out of his mouth that so harm the moral fabric of our nation, he is responsible.
Who said that? Who the fuck said that? Who's the slimy little communist shit twinkle-toed cocksucker down here who just signed his own death warrant?
You're a wormy cocksucker, you know that?
Is that right, Beto and Booker, that this is because of Trump? Is that right? You want to play that game? then Bernie Sanders is responsible for Steve Scalise almost being murdered and all the other Republicans on the ball field that day. Would you agree with that? Because I didn't hear that coming out of you fucking empty heads. Then there. And you know what? How about Obama? How about all the cops who got killed and all the riots under Obama? Did Trump start that shit too? Obama, who was best friends with Jeremiah Wright, who's best friends with Louis Farrakhan. If you want to play the blame game. So it was, because Obama came out after those shootings in Pittsburgh at the synagogue, basically blaming Trump and blah, blah, blah. But Obama got a pass, didn't he? During those riots, and 5 cops gunned down in Dallas, and then a couple nights later, 3 more in Baton Rouge, not to mention the 2 new NYPD cops that were executed in their fucking cars, just sitting there because of Obama and Eric Holder's anti-cop sentiment. Obama actually gave a speech at the UN saying this is what black people face in America. He wasn't in office a couple months. He went after, remember Lewis Gates, the professor from Harvard, when a cop in Cambridge thought he was breaking into a house? Obama came right out. He was brand new to the Oval Office and said cops can be stupid sometime. And more anti-cop rhetoric, and cops get killed because of that. And I know a cop who had a black partner, and even the black partner said, before Obama got in office, people seemed to be getting along in the beat that they were walking. That came from a black cop in Miami. So, but let's give him a fucking pass. And by the way, if you're looking for comedy in the first half of the show, you're not going to get it, okay? Yeah, I'm being a pundit today because I don't control the fucking morbidity, is that a word? Of what goes on over the weekends, okay? But I love how Obama got a pass. And this notion, we have 279 million guns on the streets of America. Yes, and here's my logic to you idiots. You could eliminate all but 200 of those guns. Let's say there were 200 guns in the country. If they got in the hands of these 2 fucking creeps, these people would still be dead. It's not the instrument. It's not too many guns. It's too many mentally ill people. And we have thousands and thousands of gun laws on the books that aren't being enforced. You guys all know the arguments. But once again, the left take that emotional because it's about power. It's about votes. They don't give a fuck. I'm so cynical, and people, some people laugh and some people don't. You'll find out George Soros was behind this 5 years from now. That's quite a leap, Nick. I don't give a shit. I'll be as cynical as the left. Unfucking believable. They get so emotional, no logic, no reasoning whatsoever. And Kamala Harris is raising money on this shooting. She's doing a fundraiser based on this. What are you going to do, take away all the guns? Are we going to have this argument again? A well-armed population is a safe population, in my opinion. It's what keeps us from getting invaded. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's always on Bill Maher, he's a brilliant astrophysicist, scientist. He's brilliant, okay? And the left is always kissing this guy's ass. But he came at the party of science with some empirical evidence, which they usually love so much, but it didn't fit their narrative. So now he's getting torn to shreds. He tweeted out, on average, across any 48 hours, we also lose after these shootings 500 to medical errors, 300 to the flu, 250 to suicide, 200 to car accidents, 40 to homicide via handgun. And then he put, often our emotions respond more to spectacle than to data. Oh, don't be bringing reasoning and logic into this. Which is exactly, it's the spectacularity of these events. Like I said, black people and brown people get killed on the weekends, but we have this morbid curiosity about when something like this happens. Let's ignore the fact that 80% of gun crimes are handguns and focus on this. And then you can have the argument about the AR-15, which is not an assault rifle, by the way. It's a semi-automatic rifle. The AK-47 that was used at Walmart, that's an assault rifle. But you can trick out an AR-15 or whatever. But again, let's not ignore the fact that 80% of shootings are handguns. And those are factored into those statistics. of the 240-something mass shootings. Because the definition of a mass shooting is any more than 4 people, which goes on the weekend at a cookout, for Christ's sake, in a lot of towns. Those are factored in there too, but don't bring that up. And here's another fact. I don't know if it's true or not, but I read this. No NRA member has ever committed a mass shooting. Again, I don't want to bring logic and reason into it. So Neil deGrasse put that up there. And of course, they love him until he goes against their narrative. Then he get torn to shred on Twitters. In the past 48 hours, but he said, other accounts, several celebrities, I didn't even bother because the celebrities make me so crazy. Verified Twitter accounts condemned deGrasse Tyson's tweet, with some even urging him to take it down. See that? Take it down. We disagree. Shut your mouth. Take it down. You have no right to. Other accounts threw obscenities at the Harvard grad without addressing his direct points, including the official account for the band Smash Mouth. So you better take it down. Neil, you better take it. Smash Mouth just weighed in. Can we get a fucking quote from Bananarama? And maybe the surviving members of the Monkees might have something to say about it. And of course, what did he do? Neil deGrasse Tyson's apologized, and my guest coming up in a few minutes, Dana Loesch, she actually has been quoted as saying, "Don't bend a knee to the raging mob." I'm paraphrasing or whatever, and that's just what he did. Neil deGrasse Tyson issued an apology after his tweet about the mass shooting deaths in El Paso and Dayton was slammed as insensitive. But not everyone is accepting his mea culpa. Fuck you. Who do you people think you are, honest to God? My intent, he says, was to offer objectively true information that might help shape conversations and reactions to preventable ways we die. This goes over all the idiots' heads who are blinded by their rage and their emotions. He offered this on Facebook. He said, "Where I miscalculated was that I genuinely believed the tweet would be helpful to anyone trying to save lives in America. What I learned from the range of reactions is that for many people, some information, my tweet in particular, can be true but unhelpful, especially at a time when many people are either still in shock or trying to heal or both." No, you offered it when it was relevant. And again, the party who loves science and empirical evidence just went shithouse on a guy who they consider brilliant 364 days a year. But how about the fact they're going to take it down? Hey, how about fuck you? That's what you should have said, Neil, but I know, that's not how an astrophysicist talks, unless the Russians beat us to some. Unfuck them. The sanctimony on the left just, it always comes on display. But like I said, if you want to blame Trump for all this shit, even though in the guy's manifesto in El Paso said it had nothing to do with him or whatever. And I can see how you guys in the mainstream media are making that link. I put on Joy Reid just to see the next morning. She's got some idiot on there. Hey, it's no doubt it's Trump's fault. You guys are just stupid. Okay, it's Bernie's fault. And it's Obama's fault the cops are dead. If that's what you want to say, then I'm going to say that, which I really don't believe. It's because I'm thinking with a clear head. I'm sorry. Here's some quick statistics. Put up the almost all guns used in crimes graph. We'll just show this one because I think we got Dana coming on shortly. Put up the graph real quick. Let's see. Oh, almost all guns used in crimes are illegally obtained or possessed. 43% of the street or underground is where they come from. 25% illegal straw purchase. That's bought from someone. They're trying to pass a bill in the House, by the way. Even if you do like a private sale, they're going to hold on to the gun until you clear the 7% found at the scene. So the point being, I won't even get to the race aspect of it because then you guys will start crying. But again, more statistics and whatever. But somebody who knows a ton about this and who I respect immensely and have for a long time, ex-NRA spokesman Dana Loesch, she's a provocateur. She's outspoken. She's smart as hell. Former paid NRA spokesman. She's got successful syndicated radio shows, best-selling author, Blaze TV. She's done it all, and she is joining us right now, and I can't thank her enough. Dana, how are you? Good to see you and finally kind of meet you.
Good to see you too, Nick. Been a fan for a long time. I used to watch Tough Crowd. That's when I first saw you.
And you were probably, what, 14? That's what bums
No,
me.
I was older than that. I was older than that, but no, it was a great show. So it's good to talk with you.
Same here. Dana, let's get to, you know way more about guns. And let me ask you real quick before I get to the event of this weekend. What drew you to become such a pro-gun advocate? Was it a personal incident? I read, like, your grandfather taught you to shoot a BB gun. Why do you have such, why are you so pro-gun, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, I definitely come at it from a very personal experience. And I think, everybody arrives at why they support Second Amendment rights. I guess,
Right.
People support it in different ways. Some people just, straight no chaser, just what it says in the Constitution. Some people like me, why I always supported the Second Amendment. It was just, I wasn't a huge hunter and I didn't carry. When I was in college, I even really until I was probably about 25 years old. But I wrote about it in my first book, Hands Off My Gun. And I had an experience that involved an aunt of mine and her estranged, violent husband. And as a result of that relationship, she fled to my grandparents' house. And I was just a little kid and I was staying with my grandparents. It was towards the end of summer. And he came looking for her, and my grandpa was armed and he was on the front porch, and it was a very rural area. So while they did actually call the law, as my grandma would always say, just call the law, just make sure you do that, Howard. While he did call the police, it took like 20, 25 minutes
Wow.
for them to show up because it's a huge area in southern Missouri out in Iron County. And so, it's not like having, police headquarters down the street. So you kind of have to take care of yourself a little bit until first responders, law enforcement can arrive. And so that's exactly what he did. And he stood out on the front porch, and actually he sat down on the porch swing. I heard him sit on it, and that was it. And I felt, I went from feeling terrified as a kid because it's the most, when you actually think that your life is in imminent danger and you realize that the person who's going to carry out something horrifically evil like that has the means and the will to do it, it's a terror that I don't want anybody else to ever experience. But I felt safe because I was confident in my grandfather's skill, and I knew that he would protect his family. I knew that he was very able to do so. And so that gave me a sense of security and it gave me a sense of comfort. And then as I grew older and I got into politics and I got into talk radio, had a couple of incidents. And I actually had the former chief of police in St. Louis tell me, look, girl, you need to get your concealed carry license. It's getting a little bit too much, and police can't always be there when something goes down. And so that's exactly what I did. And I'm not scared and I'm not paranoid because I carry.
So it was an intensely personal thing for you. Let me ask you this, sort of related to that. What if you, and again, what if you lost a relative or a really close person to a mass shooting like this? Would it change your views, your logic at all? Because this always comes up. People always go, what happened if it happened to you? Would it change how you think, or?
I mean, I hate playing into the hypotheticals of it, and
Right.
I don't want to put myself in a position where I am in any way trying to empathize in a way that I don't have the ability to do so, because that is a tiny club.
Right.
Those people who've gone through something so horrific. If something like that, if evil were to befall me or befall my family, I would absolutely put the blame where it's supposed to go, on the person who did it. It's not a loophole if you commit a crime. Nick, if you have a suspended license and you're out there driving around on a suspended license and you get pulled over, you can't just tell the cop, well, it's a loophole that allows me to do this.
Right.
No, it's still a criminal act.
Right.
I mean, I like how we're trying to redefine how criminality is, what it's called and how it's defined by calling it a loophole, but that's not how it works. But I would want to put the blame where on the murderer and figure out what went wrong, and definitely not go out and blame other innocent people or inanimate objects, because I think we excuse evil and we excuse people of their own volition doing something so heinous to each other.
How dare you try to place the blame on the people who actually did it? In 2019 in America, it really is. It makes me. Let me ask you this, and I know, like on a weekend like this, you get sick into your stomach, a pit in your stomach, obviously because it's a horrific tragedy, but also because you must have a pit in your stomach on a second level, because you've put yourself out there, and the blowback you're going to get on social media, and you're well known. I mean, author, radio show. And I notice you respond to these people, a lot of them. But you get that when you hear of these shootings like this weekend, you're like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to defend myself the next 48 hours. Do you get like a pit in your stomach because you're such a lightning rod now?
I think the first thing that I feel is obviously sickened. You're sickened over it,
course.
and when you hear places like Walmart, I mean Walmart for back to school shopping, I mean these are
Right.
just two things that don't go
Right.
together. Mass murder and Walmart back to school shopping. It is, I think it shows you how prevalent evil is, and it makes me sick and it makes me sad. And then of course I immediately start thinking how many families are broken today, how many people are going to be picking up the pieces of their lives. I think when you are, and Nick, you know this because you've been doing this for so long, when you're in the public sphere and you're talking about anything that even can be remotely construed as controversial, I mean, you're always going to get stuff. I hate that we in the United States can't have, with all of our free speech, we can't actually have a serious discussion with nuance about what needs to be done and what can be done immediately to prevent further things like this from happening. But the hatefulness, what people don't realize is that's about 10% of the stuff I get. The serious stuff people don't even know the serious stuff because I won't put it out there. But when I say God bless to people, I'm not being smart aleck about it.
Right.
Maybe 10 years ago, if you asked me that, I definitely would be. But I'm genuinely not being smart aleck about it. I just wish that people would kind of get a sense of perspective when they talk about this stuff. And people can be mad, and it's a scary thing. And I think some people don't know how to react with all that fear and anger.
When you say God bless, because when I read it too, because I'm like,
You read it in the Southern way.
yeah, exactly. Not
Yeah, you do.
like homeless people in New York, or homeless people anywhere. When you don't give them a buck, they say God
Yeah.
bless, but they say it a fuck you way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a
yeah,
blessed
yeah.
day. They might as well be saying stick it up your ass, which
Yeah,
I
that's
know that's the Northeast way, maybe. I don't know, but
Yeah.
what else do I want to ask you here? What do you say? But what do you say to these people, these critics of yours and of Republican politicians? By the way, speaking with Dana Loesch, that say, look, the Republicans and the right wingers in D.C. They are controlled by the NRA and all the money that pours in from the lobbyists. What's your answer? Is that a legitimate beef or?
No,
I'm asking
it isn't.
sincerely because I don't know the answer.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a big talking point that goes around. I mean, and I don't speak for the organization, but
Right.
they are, when you look at the amount of money that is given in lobbying, they're not even in the top 10. In fact, I don't even think they're in the top 20. There are a lot of other organizations out there who outspend them hand over fist. And one of the other things that I think people need to realize too is that, an organization like that, or an organization like Gun Owners of America, these are literally just people all across the country from all walks of life that get together and they're like, you know what, why don't we pool our money together and see if we can protect some of the things that we value. But yet the moment that they do that, they're demonized by a lot of politicians who are more than happy to take Planned Parenthood's money. And then they get an additional, $500 million in taxpayer money with it. I mean, that's, if we want to talk about lobbying and where our money goes. So they're not even, Nick, they're not even heavy players, and that's not where the muscle comes from. The muscle and the real power of law-abiding gun owners comes from them voting. I mean, these people they will be there on voting day. In fact, they're early voters. They will be there for the early voting period. They will be first in line. They're very dedicated voters, and they always have been. And that's the key to the power.
Let's get to the specifics of the weapons used this weekend. And in the Walmart shooting in El Paso was as I understand it from what I'm reading, AK-47. Is that correct?
I think it was on the AK platform. I don't know if it was like a WASR-10 or something like that, but it was on that platform.
It kept saying AK-47, which is an assault rifle, right? As opposed to an AR-15, which you can trick out. An AR-15 is a semi-automatic. It's not an assault. They keep using that term across the boards, right?
So the basic, and I saw the New York Post, they had a cover, the cover of their magazine today is "We need to ban weapons of war." And then they had this huge editorial where they were talking about how we have to ban assault weapons. And we got to be real. The reason that I say we have to be careful about terminology, and I get some blowback from people on the left about this, it's not because I'm trying to be, a control freak with your words. It's
right.
it's because there are certain legal ramifications that come into play literally based on the language that is used. And we're talking about the difference between felonies and misdemeanors. I mean, this is pretty serious stuff. So if we're as passionate as we claim to be about it, we've got to use the proper terminology to reflect the different regulations that come into play. And so when you look at a phrase like assault weapon is not a real word. That's something that came up in the 90s. Now, if you way back, and I think it's the Army guide, the Department of Defense had a field guide for the military wherein they one time defined assault rifle as being a rifle that is fully automatic or capable of select fire. So what that means is, everybody knows what full auto means. Select fire is usually like 3-round bursts. A semi-automatic rifle is not considered, even by that guidebook, which is not even really used in the military, that phrase, that's not considered to be an assault weapon or an assault rifle. Semi-automatics only are semi-automatics, and it's actually a felony to try to trick it out and make it to be full auto or do anything like that. It's simply just a modern sporting rifle. And you have the AK platform, you have the AR platform.
Right.
I won't go into the weeds on that, but it's basically, look at it like this. The AR-15 is kind of, you can customize it sort of in the way that people can do Jeeps. How you can, order stuff from the factory, you can get stuff from different places, you can customize a Jeep. I mean, that's kind of, and that's sort of similar, but you cannot have people on the street. They can't go up into Walmart and buy a full auto firearm. They can't go into Walmart and purchase the select fire capacity firearm. Those things are what we call NFA items. NFA is the National Firearms Act, things like suppressors, which are not silencers, things that are full auto, that's covered under the National Firearms Act. So while you can actually purchase it, you don't see gangbangers and people out there purchasing them because you're looking at a minimum of like $25,000 because of that. Because they really control the supply. And we don't even have instances of that even happening. The biggest offenders, if you want to talk about these inanimate objects used in crime, it's handguns that are bought on the black market by drug dealers and gangbangs.
Yeah, I read 80% of shootings are done by handguns. And this is in Chicago on the weekend and other urban places. And they factor that because the definition of a mass shooting, as you know, is like 4 or more people. And they factor those numbers, and they said we've had 249 mass shootings in 2019. Again, to paint Trump like it's Trump's fault. But they don't. That's the dirty secret. They factor in those handgun where on Chicago you read what happens every weekend. I mean,
well, you can go online. People can go online and look for this. They can, and it's actually not as difficult as it sounds. They're called FBI Uniform Crime Reports. You can even Google it. It'll take you to a webpage, FBI webpage. You can go and look by year, and you can literally see how many times rifles were used in crimes. Now, where it concerns semi-automatic rifles, they're used in less than 2% of all crimes. And here's an important point. The reason that phrase, going back to that, what you had said, the assault weapon is being used, but being used to purposefully conflate it with semi-automatic rifles, so to confuse people, so that we can have there can be more momentum on a ban of semi-automatic firearms, period. So when you hear people talking about assault weapons or assault rifles, ask them to define it, because what they're talking about really is semi-automatic firearms.
Right. Let me get your reaction. Again, we're talking to Dana Loesch, former paid spokesman of the NRA. You're on the Blaze still, right? You don't have this. I do. I have a radio show that 12 to 3 Central that Radio
broadcasts.
America.
Yeah, across the country, and I do some other television stuff, and I have a 3rd book coming out this spring, which is, ironically enough, about grace and politics. So that's going to be interesting.
Grace and what's that going to be? A pamphlet? Let me get your reaction to the left's typical reaction of blaming Trump, and my take on is that, okay, if you want to play that game, then Bernie Sanders is responsible for the Scalise shooting. Obama's responsible for all the death of the cops in Dallas that night, in Baton Rouge, and I mean, you have one side using logic and one just using pure emotion. What's your take on? I mean, Kamala Harris is raising money already on this.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awful. Which I'm not surprised. I wish that people. I think it's a disgusting game when people do it. For instance, and I think that this is it's kind of a Rorschach test when you look at how the media has reacted and politicians have reacted to these 2 horrific cases that took place over the weekend. The first individual in El Paso, I think everyone's attributing him to Trump. If they read his very trolling manifesto, which I question his sincerity of writing it, I mean, he says a number of things that don't exactly jive with the Republican platform. They're not actually things that I don't think that the president would support. And then when you look at
he brings up the environment. He brings up the environment.
Yeah, he's anti-corporatist. I mean,
right.
he quoted the Lorax, for crying out loud. I mean, the Sissification of environmentalism. I only know leftists doing that.
Right.
But when you look at this other monster in Dayton, this guy was a Democrat, and he was a proud Elizabeth Warren supporter. And he actually has stated that he wanted gun control, and he wants things like gun control to come from this. And so the way that they're being treated in the media is interesting, because there's more evidence there to link this murderer in Dayton to Democrat candidates and to progressive issues. But I think it's disgusting if people do that as well, because if we fall into that game, what we're doing is excusing the
actual perpetrator.
Exactly. Yeah. Evil exists, and we've got to stop excusing it and sugarcoating it by saying things like loophole, or like, oh, well, it was the rhetoric that led to this. No, I mean, and that gets me worried about free speech, when we start blaming individuals for the actions of criminals because we don't like what they say. That's dangerous territory too. It's the murderer that's done it, and everybody needs to chill out about it.
Well, can't we agree on that? Regardless of your politics, anybody who does something like this has the screw loose. I mean, that's where it starts, and they look right over that.
I agree.
It's a cynical take, but anyways, and I love the fact that your take was blame the people who were doing it, which we've lost sight of that in this country a long time ago.
Yeah, and how do we solve this issue, and how do we stop more attacks and more acts of terror and horrific mass killings like this if we can't even blame the people who were doing it?
That's the question that makes me nuts, too, because right after something like this happens, that question, how do we prevent this from ever happening again?
Right.
You can't, in my opinion. You can slow it down, but as long as there's mental illness in a country of 330 million people, you can't. And I said earlier in the show, we have 279 million guns. I said, if we only had 10 guns left in this country, if these two idiots got a hold of them, those people would still be dead tonight. It's not the inanimate object. I'm so tired of it. I can't even. But anyways, Dane, I can't thank you enough. You're out there every day, and it's like I said, it's like being a black conservative. You take punches constantly. Well,
you do too, because you're pretty outspoken in what you do, and I know particularly with your industry, it is not easy. And I think you made for a long time, I think you made a huge impression on a lot of people, myself included, with your just being brave and going out and saying it like it needs to be said.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm flattered by coming from somebody as successful as you. What's the radio show? Is it Dana Radio? What's it called?
Yeah, Dana Radio. You can listen to it online if you can't get it in one of your markets, and the podcast is up on iTunes as well.
Are you Cherokee and Irish?
I have some Cherokee ancestry, and I have some very recent Irish ancestry too.
How's your liver? How's your liver?
I know, it explains a lot.
Dana, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you. Appreciate it.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Again. All right, take care. Dana Loesch, everybody, and I mean, she's out there, and that's what I liken it to, like being a Clarence or a black person who leans right in his politics, just taking a beating every day of your life, whether it's on social media, the mainstream media, and she puts herself out there, and of course she's hated. Anytime you're for logic and even Neil deGrasse Tyson, when you bring some logic and reason, actually empirical evidence, you're called a shithead today. You should be blinded by your rage and your emotion and whatever. But thank you again, Dana, for joining the show. Let's lighten it up a little, shall we? Even though I have a sad story at the end, because somebody I know was affected by violence in the comedy community this weekend. It's what a dark friggin' weekend, man. That's why I laid on the couch and had an IV of Jack Daniels, and and it still didn't kill the pain. But I said to Rich Wood, give me something funny, will you? And he found a couple of fucking gems. This lady, I was offended. Woman says mechanic offered her to lower price if she lifted her shirt. God help me. He said, look, if you pull up your shirt and show me your breast, then I will go ahead and knock the price down. I wish I had that option. I wish there were women, mechanics. But then again, if they said, show me your pecker, It would cost me twice what they would charge me in the first place. Nick, is that a dick joke? Well, kind of. This was in Ferguson, Missouri. One of the lightest stories to come out of Ferguson. She wanted an estimate from a body shop to fix her car, but she claims what she got was an offer involving her body. A Ferguson woman said a mechanic sexually harassed her when she took her car to the Quick Stop tire shop. They didn't burn that place down? They got a mechanic to come and get in the car with me so that he can ride up and down the street to see what was wrong with it, Kentrella Huntley said. She said, well, Kentrella, somebody Google that. It's sort of Cinderella, black Cinderella, I'm guessing. I don't know. She said, well, she was in the car with that mechanic. He made an indecent proposal. He said, look, if you pull up your shirt, this reminds me of the Seinfeld. Remember the boy in the bubble episode? All of a sudden, I forget who the woman was. It might have been Elaine. It was somebody, some George's girlfriend comes in the room, and he goes, take off your top. Nick, that's sexist. I know, but so goddamn funny. Anyways, he said, look, if you pull up your shirt and show me your breast, then I'll go ahead and knock the price down. Kentrella immediately said no. Oh, what a stuck-up broad, huh? And when they got back to the shop, she left and called the police. Good for you. I would, too. There's no need of this type of shit.
That boy is a P.I.G. pig.
The owner wouldn't talk to the station on camera, but he said that they showed up minutes after the police left. He denied his mechanic sexually harassed Kentrella because he said the mechanic doesn't really speak English.
Durka, Muhammad Jihad, Haka Sherpa Sherpa, Bakala.
Bakala means lift your shirt. I know that in Farsi. She said he did have an accent, but his message was clear. What he pretends in front of them is totally not what he said to me. I totally heard what he said. He told me to lift my shirt and show my body, she said.
But you don't have opening?
No.
But why not?
That's the guy when he got the job. It's a shame, she says. When does it stop? When do we get our respect, she said. And obviously the answer is when you lift your shirt. Again, just kidding, everybody. This guy's a piece of shit, and he should be fired immediately. Who's with me? Show me your breast. Show me your nipples. I like to see. I'll knock $12 off the transmission. That's what would have come next if she did it. You know, he would have judged them. That's how you base the horrible. Another thing from my fixer, Rich Wood. Do you see this video, which is, I don't know if it's kind of, I guess I'm ashamed to say that you could look at this as porn. That's where my mind is at. But a Japanese woman, watch this. This is fucking creeping me out. Making me horny. What? What the fuck? She has nuts in her mouth. She has this harks back to Richard Gere and the ferrets. Didn't they find a jar of Planters peanuts in Richard Gere's ass or something? This is Japanese teabagging, I call it. She's got nuts in her mouth and a crazy as a shithouse rat. By the way, she'll be running in the next debate. She'll be standing next to Marianne Williamson, who will be screaming at her for hurting an animal. Look at that. Look at that squirrel. Does not give a shit. This broad has halitosis from eating raw fish, and he's going after those nuts. Finally tonight on Meet the Press, Georgia Southern quarterback tried to pass off cocaine as bird poop, suspended ahead of the LSU game. Oh, my God. College, they got to have a police blotter just during college football. Seriously. Just watch the scroll at the bottom of ESPN. It's like a police blotter. But, yeah, this guy's the Georgia Southern, who's very good, by the way. They're like 1AA, whatever they call it now. And he's going to be suspended.
Run through a motherfucker face.
That's what he said in his quote. Indefinitely suspended Shy Wirtz on Friday after it was discovered the 2-year starter was arrested for cocaine possession. Who's got the fucking yayo, eh? Okay? I tell you. It's pigeon shit, I tell you. On Wednesday, Wirtz was pulled over by police in South Carolina for speeding when they noticed a white substance on his car. On the outside of the car? Keith Robinson has a great bit about this. According to the police, Wirtz reportedly told police the substance was bird shit. but later tested positive for cocaine. He should have been thinking and said, look, these pigeons snort all kinds of coke at this park. You got to think on your feet, man. You're an option quarterback. You got to be able to read the motherfucker. Head coach Chad Lunsford announced Friday also defensive end Quan Griffin was suspended for a separate arrest. I love these poor coaches going into a game against LSU, which is a little higher level than Georgia Southern's used to. I'm not saying they don't have a chance, but, you know, when you recruit these guys, don't tell me they don't have fucking rap sheets. But then again, I'm being a hypocrite because I want to watch football played by guys who are in trouble all the time. So I think I'll shut my mouth. But, I mean, come on. Bird shit? You ever snort a line of pigeon shit? You'll get as high as a fucking McDonald's French fry. Let's do one more, since I'm in a good mood and we're trying to wash away the bellicose weekend. DJ Cooper suspended by FIBA. What is that, Jason? Any idea? The friggin' international.
I think the International Basketball League.
Well, yeah. Thanks. What's the F for? The fucking International Basketball Association. DJ Cooper suspended for, listen to this, for faking drug tests that revealed he was pregnant.
You can act like a man. What's the matter with you?
He's on the injured list. He's day-to-day with a 3-month-old fetus. Go ahead, shit.
I was just going to say it's International Basketball Federation.
Oh, thank you. There you go. Step on my punchline to tell me something I asked for 10 seconds ago. You have the timing of a fucking cancer patient, honestly. The former Ohio University standout handed a 2-year suspension from, let's call it FIBA or FIBA. I don't want to get yelled at again, like FIFA and FIFA. For failing a drug test, but it wasn't performance-enhancing drugs. This is hilarious. His drug tests, according to Europoops.net, which I subscribe to, terrific magazine. Bunch of hairy Greeks dunking on each other. Revealed that he was pregnant. He's fucking pregnant.
I tell you, no fucking kids. No, but you wouldn't listen. Why, you stupid fuck.
The test on the urine that Cooper provided revealed the presence of human chorionic gonadotropin, or HCG, which is a hormone made by the placenta during pregnancy. That urine, per the report, actually belonged to his girlfriend, Aikisha. No, I don't know her name. That urine, per the report, actually belonged to his girlfriend, who likely didn't know she was pregnant at the time. Rumor says it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's kid. What? A guy in his late 70s? Binga-banga-banga? So FIBA/FIBA suspended Cooper for fraud. He's eligible to return on June 20th if he has the baby.
Would they call that a double dribble?
Why is it a double dribble? Go ahead, Rich. Let me hear
Urine sample, you know.
Urine sample. What else?
Well, he uses a girlfriend, so that's a double dribble.
Honest to God, you might be the unfunniest person I ever met. Oh, my God. Folks, did you hear that? Double dribble. If anything, that's a cum joke in this scenario. But
I tried.
Boy, try harder. Anyways, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Rich Wood, dying of cancer of the funny bone. That is it for today. I want to thank, again, big thanks to Dana Loesch, who's out there with a radio show, Dana Radio, Radio America, and she's got another book coming out, and it was a pleasure talking to her. And keep your chin up, folks. You know, it really is. We like to keep Mondays light here because, you know, we do the show for free. And, oh, real quickly, I might as well mention this. I hate to end on a, you know what, I'll save it for tomorrow. Let's end on this note. I don't want, that's enough grief for today. I can't take it. Rich, get the Jack Daniels. Jason, get the 2 mugs, okay? Remember, nickdip.com for tour dates. Cameo.com if you want me to send a personal video message roasting one of your friends or somebody you hate or say something nice to somebody you love. I would love to make their day or to ruin it. I prefer to ruin it, but you let me know. Hopefully you guys know Cory Booker or Elizabeth Warren or fucking Pete Buttigieg or fucking Beto the shithead O'Rourke. Anyways, that is it. Remember, you guys think it. I will say it. You're very welcome. We appreciate your support. This show will be released tonight at 7 p.m. I don't know if I should mention that or not, but Again, it's free on Mondays, and you're going to want more. We had a record-breaking month as far as people subscribing, okay? That is it. We will talk to you guys on patreon.com tomorrow. Go to nickdip.com if you want to subscribe. Take care, everybody. See you again.